came out that said H5N1, okay, which is the bird flu that's coming around into the cattle that we got. It's appearing like it's going to affect humans more easily than previously thought. So let me bring up this doggone thing.
While you're doing that, I'll take a moment to plug a page on Instagram that I really like. It's an odd name. It's Dark Aufhe Bung. So it's DARKAUFHA, like 3 Y's, and then BUNG. But it's a picture of Hegel as the profile picture. And this person is like someone I respect who's very intelligent. They're like a PhD student or already a grad student and teaching people. And they've been particularly obsessed with COVID and now bird flu because they've observed the same pattern. Like if you talk to them, they will be like overly cautious about COVID and tell you how much of a marked observation they've seen in the students getting like noticeably dumber just over the pandemic. Like people have gotten COVID so much that people literally have what he's called COVID brain, and they've just gotten slower. People are chalking it up to ADHD or to like tablets and devices or like internet brain rot or whatever. But like, it's not too far-fetched to say that the virus that we kind of let rip just by our government and corporate policy that affects your brain, heart, liver, lungs, like every internal organ that's critical to your body, and your immune system with each infection, it's not unreasonable to say that that's a factor at least. So, but now, like I was going to say, is their new thing is to be alarmist in some people's opinions, but I think it's pretty reasonable about bird flu. So if you want to DM them or just look at their page for a bit, you will find a lot of great resources there. I know it's weird to look on Instagram, but like in this independent media age, you kind of have to look where you can find reliable sources that are telling the truth that isn't bought out by corporate interests. So,
yeah, and Twitter just got named the #1 news source. You know, I mean, I understand it moves fast. Well, this is how it is. We're a brain now. Humanity was always this interconnected sort of organism, but now we have like what some insects have, which is the ability to communicate through other ways. And now we have the internet. And so things can get said fast and then debunked fast. And we have more of a chance now than ever to know the truth. Well, imagine in the 60s before we didn't know. We didn't know. It took them 70 years to figure out about the Nakba. The only people that held the information about the Nakba, the displacement of the Palestinians in 1948, was that it was held with Palestinian people in their culture and stuff. But we buried it. And, of course, the Israelis buried it. The West buried it. It was something we didn't talk about. And it became, some documents got declassified, and it showed that they, it happened and came to light. But yeah, independent media, here we are. That's us, Mike, me and you. We're bringing you the stories only
trying to be
non-corporate monkeys will give you. So this story here is crazy because, I don't know, it doesn't sound good. I don't know. Have you ever had bird flu, Mike?
I don't think it can be. Oh, it's only like certain ways that it can even get transmitted to humans, right? It's only from the livestock itself. And that's the whole dilemma, right? Well, when it gets to be transmitted from human to human, then we're really in trouble.
Yeah, and I think it can learn pretty quick depending on its life cycle and or not, or whatever it is. So,
yeah, no, thankfully I don't spend too much time around livestock, sorry.
Hey, man, ever go to a heavy petting zoo? A recent study published in Nature has ignited a debate among influenza researchers regarding potential for H5N1 virus, currently causing an outbreak in U.S. dairy cattle, to infect humans more easily than other circulating strains. Now, they think that maybe, based on the study that they did, it can infect us more easily. So, led by Yoshihiro Kawaka, sorry, sir, from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the study found that the bovine H5N1 virus could bind both to avian and human-type receptors. This dual binding capability suggests the potential for increased transmission to humans. However, Kawaka emphasizes that binding to human-type receptors alone is not sufficient enough for avian flu virus to replicate effectively in humans. So he's already saying, it might not be so bad. But still, this is one of these, COVID was a zoonotic disease, which means came from animals. And this is something I'm always on the lookout for. So, and the findings, of course, have sparked controversy within the scientific community. You got James Paulson from the Scripps Research Institute and Scott Hensley from the University of Pennsylvania that found no evidence of increased human-type specificity in their studies of the bovine H5N1 virus. So you got a lot of mixed signals here. We don't know really what the danger is, but it could be bad. And like you say, it's always moving, it's always shaping and shifting and stuff. We don't know where these things are going to go. And if they have a quick life cycle, then evolution moves faster. Like if we, generation to generation, have learned traits and stuff, this thing could learn pretty quick on how to adapt to whatever host is good, so or best. Let's see. So the study goes like this. Female lab mice fed milk from a cow that was infected became severely ill, the virus spreading it throughout their body. So right there, in mice, it shows you that H5N1, coming from milk, drinking milk, made these mice sick. Now, we're mammals, so it's good. Animal testing's a weird thing. It's not always, it doesn't always work. And in fact, 99% of the drugs that we test on animals turn out to be not able to be used on humans for whatever reason. But vertical transmission was observed with infected female mice passing the virus to their pups through their milk, even. And ferret experiments demonstrated limited respiratory transmission between animals in nearby cages, consistent with previous CDC findings. So it's undoubtedly being able to spread from animal to animal to animal to animal, of all animal world. It's just like the wet markets in China. You have these vast outdoor markets with raccoons and badgers and chickens and dogs, and everybody's going to take one of these home and have a nice peacock stir fry or something. They eat absolutely everything, and they jam all these animals together and on top of each other. So you got a bat on a dog on a monkey, and the bat's just shitting on everybody, from the cages up above. And these zoonotic diseases start. Also this happens all the time in what they call live exports. This is when they'll take a bunch of sheep who are destined for slaughter, pack them onto a cargo ship, and have them sit in and lay in their own feces and urine for 68 hours across the ocean voyage so they get to their destination, get cleaned off and killed and then butchered. They're standing elbow to elbow, in these conditions. They are famous for having outbreaks of weird diseases on board. And because the animals are commodities, there's not much accountability. You have one or two vets on board who are basically paid to look the other way. I interviewed Andrew Knight. He's one of the 4 leading experts on vegan nutrition in pets. Interesting guy. Told me the story about a lion that ate only vegetables. And then when people tried to give the lion meat, the lion would refuse because it liked its vegetarian diet. Look it up. It's the vegetarian lion. It's amazing. But zoonotic diseases are a huge thing. Go ahead.
I don't know if you're going to go back to the article or not. If you have another point, go ahead. But I was just going to make a point about the ag-gag laws because I think about them all the time.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Tell people about the ag-gag laws because this is another part.
Yeah, it was very popular around the time that it was being outlawed, like when the ag-gag laws were being created, and ag-gag stands for agricultural gag. They put a gag order on anybody trying to publicize or just do journalism about practices in the factory farming industry. You just cannot take video inside a factory farm of any kind. You can't publicize that. It's illegal to do. And that was a loss for the left, the progressives, the animal rights movement, vegans, like anyone who cares about animal rights or factory farming at all. And now that it was like gone out of the news, the media cycle has moved on, but I remember hearing about it on fucking Joe Rogan of all places. And that is unfortunately one of the largest outlets for getting something into people's ears. And it still didn't do anything. Like, it was still rammed through, and now we are mostly unaware of all these practices, and we're left to hear it from guys like you, Chris.
Yeah. Luckily in the UK, those guys have a little bit, it's more lax. They still have gag laws where there's a testing site there where they test on beagles. They take these beagles in and they jam things in their eye and do vivisections and all kinds of weird stuff. And there's this activist group that stands outside this place day and night, and they have the whole place wrapped up in barbed wire. They don't want people going in there and trying to save these beagles. And it happens all the time. You have these hardcore animal rights activists, God bless them, going in there with ski masks and freeing these beagles from testing that's arbitrary at best. I don't know what purpose it really serves. We're especially getting to a point where I know modeling, AI modeling, computer modeling of the effects of a drug or the effects of a procedure on an animal, especially, obviously we're doing it to see if humans, if a procedure or if a medicine is going to work on a human, we're doing it on the dog first. But we're not dogs, so we should have computer programs that can run simulations based on our human characteristics. We have the genome mapped out. We pretty much know our bodies. It's just a matter of time before we outdate this archaic way of testing. And like I said, there's some statistics I wrote an article about. Some high amount of drugs that are tested on animals are not found not to work. They found, okay, it's fine with rats. Let's give it to the humans now. And they found out with human testing, it didn't work. And I think this was over 90% of the time, but I'd have to check on that.
So they should just skip right to the human testing, except that just shows how much more they value human life, of course, than even animal life at all, because they're just throwing away the animal lives out of the 2% chance that it's actually going to work to move on to the human trials.
Yeah. I would say, if anything, do it to fucking convicts, right? At least they're not.
Hey, no, well, I mean, we don't believe in the prison system. Like, do it to wealthy people. If we're going to, like, people who are actually detrimental to society, like.
But scientifically, that wouldn't work out because you need a wide array of different kind of people. You can't just take all sociopaths and test all your drugs on them, because maybe they only work on sociopaths. Maybe they won't work for the rest of us.
Well, let's just start there anyway.
But yeah. I'm down with anything. But humans first. Smoggy animals are the epitome of like innocent bystanders minding their own fucking business while we decimate everything on Earth and smog everything up. But yeah, zoonotic diseases, this is the point of the conversation here, is the zoonotic disease is inherent in a lot of the livestock and meat and dairy and other interactions with farm animals. So I wanted to read off some other ones maybe you guys have heard about. There's one called bovine spongiform encephalopathy, also known as mad cow disease. You probably know it from that name. It's transmitted to humans through the consumption of contaminated beef products. Now, I don't know any beans that can do that. I've never heard of mad bean disease. Escherichia coli. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I've had it, so I'm streetwise. It's all good. E. coli can cause several foodborne illnesses in humans and is often associated with contaminated beef products. I almost died of that and amoebas in Mexico. That was fun. Cryptosporidium is a parasitic infection that can be transmitted through the contaminated water or direct contact with infected animals, particularly in young calves. So that's your veal. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, or MRSA, which I've had friends that had MRSA. It's a nasty staph infection that you get where you're just oozing and turning green, and it's pretty nasty. While primarily associated with healthcare settings like hospitals, livestock-associated MRSA strains have also been identified in farm animals and can potentially infect humans. Definitely something you don't want, trust me. As a homeless dude who's definitely had that, I gave a tattoo to a guy once in Mexico on his elbow at this weird mountain hostel, And he was like, I want an eyeball on my elbow. And so I tattooed an eyeball on his elbow, and it got so infected that like pus was squirting out of the tip of the eyeball. I never forgot that. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Leptospirosis is also a bad bacterial infection through urine and urine-contaminated water. You have Rift Valley fever. It's a viral disease that can be transmitted from livestock to humans through contacted, including their raw milk. Campylobacteriosis is a bacterial infection often associated with consumption of chicken, but also found in cattle. Listeriosis, that sounds like a band. You got all these ear-nosis, and also anthrax. So anthrax, while rare in many countries, anthrax can actually be transmitted from cattle to humans through direct contact with infected animals or their products. So, like I said, the other thing is AIDS. I mean, AIDS itself, the current consensus is it came from chimp meat. Somebody hunting in Africa that wanted to get themselves a nice slice of chimp meat. And so that was another moment for me to say, well, I'll just stop eating animal products because I will be stopped contributing to all these zoonotic disease outbreaks. And every time I see it happen, I just laugh and laugh at you people. I say, ha, 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 ha. No, just kidding. But it's true. It's true. There's tons of diseases that were totally avoidable if we had thought more about plant-based kind of diet.
Chris, speaking of avoidable diseases, what do you make of the correlation with like raw milk gaining popularity now? Like, I think we've talked a bit about the homesteader movement, the latent white supremacy involved in it, but raw milk is becoming increasingly popular. Like, people want to buy milk that is not pasteurized, not homogenized, exactly the kind of milk that would give you bird flu if that cow has it. And just like it's ironic to me that it's exactly those same people that were always prepping for some eliminationist conspiracy theory that they thought was going to come from the government were the first to not take the vaccine, pretend that COVID wasn't real, literally die of COVID and kill their loved ones with COVID, just out of their sheer defiance of the government. And now they're going to do the same thing with bird flu. And it just blows my mind how, like, I know that you would probably say it's a trait of humanity just to be that stupid that you could literally put it in their face, the conspiracy that they were supposedly preparing for, and they will still eat it hook, line, and sinker and then die from it. But I think it just goes to show that the right wing are just not the real people. They're just, it's conservative views are linked to lower cognitive ability. Once again, it's like only the actually free thinking, like people with cognition who have the ability to view other people as people like us, like, and who end up on the left because we're compassionate human beings. As much as I don't sound compassionate when I'm like laughing at the right throwing themselves into the pit of COVID and now bird flu, but like,
it's just a little mad, I guess. It's just, we're compassionate, but we're pissed. I mean, isn't that natural?
I'm mad that they're taking other good people with them, you know? Yeah.
I don't, I think it's sad that they are the way that they are. I wish that they weren't that way, but it goes down, it goes back down to the primitive nature of man, the selfish nature of man, the culture that we've created that makes us, like you said before, ultra disconnected and extremely willing to take on sociopathic kind of non-empathetic viewpoints on people because we're told that's just the way it is.
That's the move, Chris. So, if we want to start a business where we get rich and still are able to sleep at night, we sell raw milk. We just make ourselves the middlemen of raw milk purveyors online. We fund it through Bitcoin, so it's all black market under the table, and we get rich helping the chuds kill themselves.
Yeah, I think what's funny too is they recommend against raw milk, and that's for a good reason. Is because there could be any kind of number of bacteria in there. Now, when you sterilize milk, I don't think that you lose a lot of the nutrition factor. There is some I'm sure that there's extra B vitamins in bacteria, right? But the trade-off is you'll get sick. So. Mm-hmm. The raw milk itself, I mean, I got a lot of vegans telling me that milk is bad for you, but I also got real doctors telling me on my show that this truth is, it's heterogeneous. We don't know for sure if it's bad or not. 2/3 of the studies on milk, the safety of milk, have already been funded by the milk industry. So there's probably stuff we don't know, honestly, about milk. But there's a hormonal component to it that makes it unhealthy, and there's a saturated fat component that makes it unhealthy. There's conflicting studies about cheese. There's conflicting studies about milk. There's conflicting studies about yogurt, stuff like this. We don't know. I'm pretty sure. I think it's weird. I don't want to do it. But raw milk is the reason why people are drinking raw milk is because if it's a staunch anti-intellectualism, they're going against whatever guidelines. If they make raw milk illegal, because it's a natural thing, right? And if they make it illegal, that's a sign to those people, those kind of people, to say, they don't want us to have it, bro. I'm going to go stock up on it because
and it doesn't go any further than that in their mind. It's just defiance.
Right. They don't go looking for scientific studies.
It might just be oppositional defiant disorder in grown-ups, right? It may just be that the right wing is just undiagnosed ODD people.
Yeah. It's contrarianism. I'll be whatever the opposite is of the thing that I don't like. And what's bizarre is they've picked their teams so definitively. They've said, we want to Trump, and Trump can molest as many children as he wants. I'll always love this guy. Oof. And there's nothing you can do to tell me otherwise. And if there's video out there that shows him molesting children, they'll say it was a deep fake or something. There's no hope for these people in that sense. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a little confused about it myself. I don't know why people now doing this dangerous thing where they go, I'm anti-establishment, but really you're so super duper establishment that you're like, it's crazy, right? It's hypocrisy. You can imagine. It's like us coming out here and saying, we're communists, and then be like, I also want you to buy my supplements here and be sure to subscribe and donate money and buy our t-shirts and, trying to avoid that kind of hypocrisy. Right.
Grifter is like a known thing at this point, and it's funny, people will still fall for it. And then if you accuse their personal guy of being a grifter, they're like, oh, that's what you always say. You're just virtue signaling. It's like,
yeah.
Whatever,
well, I'm
bro.
openly fine. I'm openly grifting here. I'm a leftist grifter, and I'm only here to spread the message of peace and love and perpetuity throughout the universe. And I have yet to actually ask people for money. But if you want to give me money, I'm going to fucking take it. And honestly, if somebody comes up to me with $400,000 and says, hey, will you run an ad for Exxon on your show? I'll do it. Like, I am a human being, and I'm not an idiot. Like, I'll do it, and I'll do something good with the money. But ultimately, what the fuck? $400,000, dude.
That's that's nice to imagine that Exxon would pay us. They're gonna pay like the homeless romantic to do $400,000 to do like a 30-second spot on why oil is good. Actually, no, I'll write it up. We'll write it up with AI. We could do it.
Maybe we should contact them and see if they will do it. Say, we're such a big fan of you guys, and we just want you to become a sponsor so bad.
I've seen lots of people get some business through form emails that you would be surprised at. Thousands of dollars worth of business through form emails. It can happen.
I had a crust punk friend who traveled around, and he's still traveling around doing his thing. At one point, he got hooked up he was a street musician like I was, and he had music that was on NCIS, and it was on TV, and he was getting attention from the right people, and he would get letters from them, and he would just burn them. And I was like, you should just take the money and just then figure out how to take advantage of that. Chumbawamba. You remember Chumbawamba? Mm-hmm. I get knocked down. Those dudes, I guess, were anarchists. They were anarchists, though. They were hardcore anti-corporate, had a message. I didn't realize that as a kid. I just thought they were a cool, quirky band, but they were actually total crazy, far out there leftists and activists and stuff. Yeah. Like Nelson Mandela said, you think politics are strong, you should try music. But I digress here. Let's get back to this darn article. What do you say?
As we know, the movement that Chumbawamba started.
Yeah. I interviewed the lead singer, Dunstan Bruce. Nice guy. I think he was offended when I said, I'm surprised with your messaging that you got as far as you did because you were an anarchist or whatever. But yeah, honestly, I think that's a good point. I was surprised that anybody with that, because they got kicked off of TV shows for doing lewd stuff and political stuff. Yeah. I miss the political points of music. I miss when there was a message to some of the music out there. Big fan of the 60s. When I pump iron, folks, I'm always pumping iron to like Fortunate Son and like it's my jam. So where did H5N1 come from? Well, this is a complex history of evolution spanning 3 decades, first identified in 96 in domestic geese in southern China's Guangdong province. It was initially named Goose Guangdong 196. The discovery marked the beginning of a series of events that would shape our understanding of avian influenza. Following year in 97, it made its jump to humans during a poultry outbreak in China and Hong Kong. The zoonotic transmission resulted in 18 human cases, including 6 fatalities in Hong Kong alone. So it wasn't a big, like, contagion-style thing. If you've never seen that movie, it's really good. You should watch Contagion. Between 1999 and 2004, the virus underwent significant genetic diversification. Isolates from China, including Hong Kong, exhibited a wide range of genotypes and considerable variability within these genotypes. The plasticity of the genetic makeup allowed for the virus to adapt to new hosts and environments, contributed to its persistence and spread. So I don't know, maybe they're doing it on purpose, they're making new stuff, or it just does it on its own. He's just like slowly, like I said before, becoming more evolutionarily adapted to whatever. It's one step ahead of us. By 2000, H5N1 had expanded a range host to include domestic ducks, and it would prove to be crucial in the genesis of its widespread outbreaks in 2003 and 2004, which were famous, scared everybody. Everybody started wearing masks over there. The ability to infect and spread among different bird species enhanced the virus capacity for transmission. The 2004 was amazing activity for H5N1 outbreaks. The rapid and widespread emergence suggested that the virus had developed efficient mechanisms for transmission and adaptation to new environments. Oh, I hate those kind of parasitic kind of organisms. Ugh. Ooh. The emergence of these human-infected clades highlighted the ongoing risk of zoonotic transmission and potential for the virus to acquire mutations that could increase its transmissibility. So, like I said, Grandpa passes it down to the kid passes down, generation to generation. Pretty soon you got a super virus that has seen it all, done it all, can instinctively go right to the humans or right to whoever and decimate your whole operation. So tell me what you really think, right? The H5N1 avian influenza is nature's latest gift to our species, courtesy of our feathered friends and bovine brethren. It seems our penchant for the cramming of creatures into conditions that would make Victorian workhouses look positively luxurious have once again backfired. One can almost hear the virus chuckling as it hops from beak to udder to human, marveling at our species' remarkable ability to create the perfect breeding ground for pandemic potential. But why stop at bird flu when we have such a smorgasbord of zoonotic delights to choose from? Should we discuss mad cow disease? That delightful prion that turns our brains to Swiss cheese, all because we thought it was wise to feed on cattle remains, feed cattle their own kind? It's true that we were feeding cows. Yeah, Cannibal Cows. I think that's a band, too. Or perhaps we can talk about the lyrical E. coli 0157-H7, that charming little bacterium that transforms our bowels into a facsimile of the Ganges during monsoon season. That's right. And let us not forget the old classics: Anthrax, brucellosis, and leptospirosis. It's as if we've created a microbial version of Russian roulette, with every bite of our ethically sourced burger potentially harboring a microscopic bullet with our name on it. But fear not, dear reader, for there is a solution so blindingly obvious that it has escaped the notice of all the most enlightened people among us. It's called veganism. And it's not just for emaciated hippies and self-righteous celebrities anymore. Imagine, if you will, a world where our dinner plates are not festooned with the decomposing flesh of our fellow earthlings. A world where our arteries are not clogged with the congealed fat of beings who spent their brief lives in conditions that would make Dante seem quaint. A world where we don't have to worry about whether milk comes from the side of a highly pathogenic avian influenza. The magical realm is not some far-off utopia, but a reality that is within our grasp. And what's the best part? It's not even difficult. Contrary to popular belief, veganism isn't a life sentence of bland tofu and wilted lettuce. No, my friends, it's a cornucopia of flavors, textures, and nutrients that would make even the more ardent carnivore's mouth water. But wait. There's more. By embracing this plant-based paradise, we not only safeguard ourselves from the next great plague, but also strike a blow against the other looming catastrophe, climate change. It turns out that all those methane-belching cows and deforesting lands for clearing for grazing are not doing our planet any frickin' favors. Who'd have thunk it? Let us not forget the creatures themselves, those sentient, cute little beings we casually consign to lives of misery for the fleeting pleasure of a chicken nugget. By choosing compassion over cruelty, we elevate not just our diets, but our very humanity. How's my prose?
Good. Very good. I like it. As always, I don't want you to tell me who your other influences are, because I know about Carlin, but I want to try to figure out the others on my own just from hearing your stuff over a period of time. Let's see if I can.
You will, I guess. Yeah. I love animals, and that was dear to my heart, that story, so I wanted to make sure that people knew that the zoonotic diseases is a big reason to go vegan if you have the time, got the patience, and resources. So, that being said, what do you think, Mike? Does that discourage you from wanting to eat a cow, or?
It definitely makes me want to cook them more, but I mean that still won't stop you from mad cow disease. Like that came up in there. There's a lot in there. Deregulation, like I think we had just mentioned. Mad cow disease caused by deregulation under Thatcher. That was literally a direct result of cutting the regulations and allowing cows to eat other cows, like you just said. Something that people often don't find out about until 20, 30, 50 years later. You could eat this piece of beef and then have this weird form of what looks like dementia. You just become a severely disabled person and end up dying from a really horrific illness from eating a piece of beef that didn't have to have a prion disease in it. That also, can't be cooked away. Another thing that was popularized by Joe Rogan, mostly when he's talking about deer, he's always trying to warn about chronic wasting disease and prions that get put into deer meat somehow. And you'd have to cook it to something like 3,000 to 4,000 degrees, which is not anything that you can do at home or that you would do to have edible meat. So
I'll put it in a kiln, Joe. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Make a nice pottery
won't be
out
catching
of it.
That.
Yeah. Joe makes a lot of outrageous claims when he's on about the crop deaths today. I was just out with the tractor. He always says, well, vegan agriculture results in more crop deaths, which is absolutely not true because we mostly feed cows crops. And even if it's grass-fed beef, it's really, go vegan. Thanks, Jed. We got my first super. Somebody sent us 5 bones. Cool. We're going to divvy it up. I was so broadsided by the idea of making money, I forgot what I was saying. Joe Rogan says that the tractor kills all the gophers and this because Ted Nugent came on his show and said this. Most grass-fed beef eats rolled grass that they've farmed and tractored and rolled and put somewhere else. So, and the other thing is, they did a study and they found that most animals, when they hear a fucking tractor coming, they run away. They run away.
No way.
Mice, things. Yeah, you'd be surprised that they have ears, these big ears on some of these creatures. They actually just run away. So the thing about the crop dust, vegan agriculture, if you hear it, it's not true, unfortunately. It's a nice bit of urban legend that one of the top podcasts in the world actually constantly is propagating. And I'm constantly hearing people reiterate this stuff. Guys, it's not true. It's not true. I wish it was. That would make you look smarter than you are.